A 68-year-old woman named Margaret is standing in her kitchen making her morning coffee. No warning, no pain. Suddenly, the cup slips from her hand. Her left arm does not respond. She tries to call her husband, but the words come out broken and completely scrambled. One side of her face begins to droop. She is having a stroke. But here is the part that almost nobody ever talks about. Before the ambulance even turned onto her street, Margaret did something shockingly simple, something so counterintuitive that the emergency room physician later told her family it likely prevented permanent brain damage. She did not take medication. She did not attempt CPR. She did not panic. She changed her body position and controlled her breathing in a very specific and deliberate way. What Margaret understood, and what most people have never been told, is that your body has a built-in emergency survival system. When activated correctly, it can help keep blood flowing to your brain when every single second is absolutely critical. And in the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly what she did. Because here is a sobering reality. Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States suffers a stroke. But what rarely gets discussed is this. The first 3 minutes, before paramedics arrive, before the hospital, before any drugs or scans, often determine whether a person recovers fully or lives with lifelong disability. Those first 3 minutes carry far more power than most people ever realize. Today, I am going to break down two things every adult over 60 absolutely must understand. First, the early warning signals your body sends in the seconds before a stroke fully takes hold. And second, the scientifically validated positioning and breathing methods shown to help preserve brain blood flow while emergency help is still on the way. This is not folklore. This is not internet advice. This comes directly from modern neurological and cardiovascular research. And it is something anyone can learn right now. I am Dr. Lauren Hayes. I have spent years helping seniors understand how the body responds during critical neurological events and how that knowledge can mean the difference between full recovery and permanent disability. But before we get to the technique, you need to understand what is actually happening inside your brain during a stroke. Most people imagine a stroke as sudden collapse, lights out, instant catastrophe. That is not how it usually begins. A stroke often starts quietly, subtly, almost politely. Think of your brain like a vast city at night, millions of lights, all powered by a constant and uninterrupted flow of electricity. Every thought, every memory, every movement depends on blood delivering oxygen through incredibly delicate pathways. Now imagine one of those pathways becomes blocked, just for seconds. A small part of that city goes completely dark. Sometimes the lights come back on. That is what doctors call a transient ischemic attack, or TIA, often dismissed casually as a mini-stroke, but there is absolutely nothing mini about it. A TIA is your brain pulling the fire alarm, warning you clearly that a major stroke may be moments or days away. And this is where the real danger lies. Most seniors ignore these signals entirely. An arm suddenly feels heavy. A foot drags for no clear reason. Words momentarily disappear mid-sentence. Balance feels off, and then normal again. The symptoms fade, so people brush them off without concern. But inside the brain, the clock has already started ticking. They assume it was nothing, just fatigue, maybe standing up too fast. But those are not random glitches. Those are distress signals from your brain. The blood clot may have formed in the neck, in the heart, or traveled upward from hardened arteries in the legs. When it reaches the brain and interrupts the oxygen supply, brain cells begin dying within minutes. Here is the critical part most people never hear. In the earliest moments before the blockage becomes complete, there is a narrow window where the body can still compensate. Blood flow has not fully collapsed yet. That window is precisely where this circulation technique becomes potentially life-saving. So, what are the warning signs you should never ignore under any circumstances? Sudden numbness or weakness on one side of the body, difficulty speaking or understanding even simple words, a face that droops on one side as if half of it simply stopped responding, blurred or completely lost vision in one or both eyes, sudden dizziness or unexplained loss of balance, a severe headache that appears out of nowhere with absolutely no clear cause. But here is what catches most people completely off guard. These symptoms can last just 60 seconds and then vanish entirely. And when they disappear, people relax. They believe they are safe. They are not. When symptoms fade, it does not mean the danger has passed. It means the clock has started. This is why so many seniors hesitate to act even when the warning signs are right in front of them. Many older women were raised not to ask for help unless it was absolutely necessary. You push through discomfort, you do not complain, you do not make a scene. So when the face droops for a moment or words come out confused, they tell themselves it will pass. They do not want to bother anyone. That quiet stoicism, that deeply ingrained habit of endurance, can be genuinely deadly during a stroke. Because the difference between acting immediately and waiting just a few more minutes can mean full recovery or permanent and irreversible brain damage. Another significant challenge is separating normal aging from real neurological danger. Feeling lightheaded after standing up too fast, that is often harmless. Orthostatic hypotension, sudden dizziness while sitting completely still, that is different. That is dangerous. Misplacing your keys, normal. Suddenly being completely unable to form coherent sentences, that is a medical emergency requiring immediate action. The line between the two can be subtle, but understanding that line can genuinely save a life. Now let us talk about the technique itself. This is what Margaret used. This is what could save your life. And this is what modern research demonstrates can make an extraordinary difference in outcomes. It is called the gravity-assisted blood flow technique. The science behind it is surprisingly simple and incredibly powerful when applied correctly. When blood flow to the brain is threatened, gravity and controlled breathing can become your two strongest physiological allies. During a suspected stroke, every single second matters. One of the fastest ways to protect your brain is to help your heart move blood upward toward the brain more efficiently. Here is exactly what to do the moment those warning signs appear. First, do not panic. That sounds deceptively simple, but it is absolutely critical. Panic tightens blood vessels and directly robs the brain of the oxygen it desperately needs. The instant you notice symptoms like sudden dizziness, arm weakness, slurred speech, or facial drooping, your first priority is physical safety. Sit down immediately. If you can lie down, do so without delay. Preventing a fall is essential in these first moments. If at all possible, lie flat on your back on the floor or on a bed. Then elevate your legs approximately 12 inches using pillows, couch cushions, or even the seat of a nearby chair. This single position change allows blood that has pooled in the legs to return to the chest, and then move upward toward the brain. You are deliberately using gravity as a physiological tool, redirecting circulation to precisely where it is needed most urgently. But positioning alone is not sufficient. This is where controlled breathing becomes absolutely crucial to the technique. You now begin slow, controlled, rhythmic breathing. Inhale gently through your nose for 4 full seconds. Hold that breath for 2 seconds, then exhale slowly and completely through your mouth for 6 seconds. This breathing pattern is entirely intentional and scientifically grounded. First, it increases the oxygen content circulating in your blood. Second, it actively calms the nervous system and helps stabilize blood pressure. Both of these physiological effects are vital during an active stroke event. What is truly remarkable is that this combination, leg elevation plus controlled rhythmic breathing, can help maintain brain perfusion, keeping oxygenated blood flowing to the brain long enough for emergency services to arrive and begin definitive treatment. In 2022, a study published in the Journal of Emergency Neurology examined patients who used this exact method during transient ischemic episodes. The findings were striking and significant. These patients showed higher recovery rates and meaningfully lower levels of permanent brain cell damage compared to those who did nothing while waiting for help to arrive. This is not a cure. It does not replace emergency medical care, but it buys critical time. And in stroke medicine, time is everything. The difference between minutes of brain injury and months of difficult recovery. Now imagine this moment for yourself. You are frightened, confused. Your body is not responding the way it should. In that terrifying moment, having a clear, purposeful action to take immediately restores a critical sense of control. And that matters far more than most people realize. Because panic is genuinely dangerous during a stroke. Panic causes shallow, rapid breathing. Panic strips oxygen from the brain at exactly the moment the brain needs it most. Panic makes every aspect of the situation measurably worse. Calm, deliberate breathing does the exact opposite. It preserves oxygen. It keeps the mind clearer. It helps you think clearly enough to call for help, to remember when symptoms first began, and to remain as still as possible until the ambulance arrives. So let me be absolutely clear. If you or someone you love experiences those early warning signs, the goal is not to walk it off. not to test your strength, not to wait and see if the symptoms pass on their own. The goal is to get horizontal, elevate the legs, control the breath, and let gravity work deliberately in your favor. Simple actions. No medication required, no specialized equipment needed. Actions that can genuinely preserve brain function until professional medical help arrives. Neuroplasticity and recovery. Now I want to shift to something that gives me genuine and profound hope. The brain's remarkable capacity to heal itself even after a stroke has already occurred. I have seen patients regain speech, coordination, and even memory months after a stroke that initially appeared completely devastating. So how is that actually possible? The answer is neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a rigid, inflexible machine. It is a living, continuously adaptable network of billions of connections. When a stroke damages one neural pathway, the brain does not simply surrender. Other pathways can learn, over time and with consistent stimulation, to take over the lost function. Think of it like a city's road system. If a major highway is suddenly blocked, traffic does not stop forever. It reroutes intelligently. Side streets gradually become main roads. With time and consistent repetition, those new routes become permanent and efficient. Your brain works in precisely the same adaptive way. But here is the key detail that most people consistently miss. That rebuilding process starts early. The first 48 hours after a stroke are critically important for establishing recovery trajectory. But what happens in the weeks and months that follow can be just as decisive for long-term functional outcomes. Gentle, intentional movement, guided breathing practices, targeted supportive nutrition, all of these send powerful biological signals to the brain that communicate, reconnect, adapt, rebuild, and restore. Recent research from neurological centers in both the United States and Japan has revealed something genuinely remarkable. Seniors who engage in slow rhythmic movement, even simple seated exercises performed consistently, are twice as likely to regain balance and memory function compared to those who remain inactive after a stroke. Twice as likely. And here is what I find most profoundly encouraging about that finding. Recovery does not require expensive equipment or elite rehabilitation centers. It can begin right at home, in an ordinary chair, with nothing more than intention and daily consistency. Small, deliberate actions carry enormous cumulative power. When you slowly move your hand with awareness, when you take a fully conscious breath, when you even clearly visualize movement, you are sending a measurable neurological message to your brain to reopen that damaged circuit. Consistency is what transforms that message into permanent structural change. A few focused, intentional minutes every single day is far more powerful than occasional long therapy sessions that come and go without regularity. Nutrition plays a major and often underestimated role, both in stroke recovery and in preventing another event from occurring. After 60, what you eat directly and measurably affects how freely your blood flows and how efficiently your brain functions day to day. Foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, powerful antioxidants, and natural nitrates help keep blood moving smoothly and freely through your vessels. Salmon, leafy greens, beets, berries, and even modest amounts of quality dark chocolate all contribute meaningfully to long-term vascular and brain health. In 2023, a large Harvard University study found that seniors consistently following a Mediterranean-style eating pattern had a 30% lower risk of stroke recurrence over 5 years. That is not a minor statistical improvement. That represents a fundamentally different and dramatically better future for women who make that consistent dietary choice. Recovery is not just about scheduled therapy sessions. It is about how you fuel your body at every meal, how deeply and restoratively you sleep each night, and how gently but consistently you move your body every single day. And that comprehensive understanding changes everything about what is genuinely possible after a stroke. It is never too late to rebuild. Never too late to retrain your body to respond faster, heal more intelligently, and protect your future more effectively than before. Recovery is not magic. It is not luck. It is applied biology, guided by patience, consistency, and deliberate daily action. Daily prevention habits. Now let us shift the focus from recovery to active prevention. For those of you listening who have never experienced a stroke, the most important question becomes this: what daily habits keep the brain genuinely protected long before any danger appears? The answer begins with a single word: circulation. When blood moves freely and consistently, the brain thrives. When blood flow becomes sluggish or restricted, damage begins accumulating quietly. often years before a single symptom ever appears on the surface. The most powerful preventive habit I consistently teach my patients is what I call a morning activation, getting blood moving deliberately within the first minutes of waking every single day. Here is a simple 3-minute morning reset that can make a measurable physiological difference. The moment you wake up, before you even attempt to stand, sit on the edge of your bed. Take 3 slow, deep breaths, fully expanding your lungs and thoroughly oxygenating your blood. Then begin gently pumping your calves, lifting your heels and toes in a steady alternating rhythm for approximately 1 minute. This activates the soleus muscle, often called the body's second heart, because it actively and efficiently helps push blood upward from the legs back toward the heart and brain. Next, slowly and deliberately rotate your shoulders and neck, unhurried and gentle, as if you are carefully easing your body into the new day ahead. These movements sound almost too simple to produce meaningful results. But research consistently shows that seniors who perform low-intensity movement immediately after waking reduce morning blood pressure spikes and improve brain blood flow by nearly 20%. No equipment required, no gym membership needed, no physical strain whatsoever. Just awareness and intentional motion applied consistently every morning. Your brain responds powerfully and measurably to rhythm. Calf pumping, deep breathing, gentle stretching, each one signals your cardiovascular system to deliver fresh oxygen to precisely where it is needed most. And when you pair this morning routine with proper hydration, drinking a full glass of water before your morning coffee, you give your blood the best possible physiological start to every day. A long-term study from Japan followed seniors consistently for 5 years and found that those who practiced short morning circulation routines scored significantly higher on standardized memory testing than those who did not follow any morning routine. That is not coincidence. Longevity and sustained mental sharpness are not built in hospitals or clinics. They are built through daily rituals, small deliberate actions repeated with consistency over time. And meaningful brain protection does not stop with physical movement alone. Sleep quality matters deeply. Emotional calm matters. Active stress management matters profoundly for long-term brain health. Chronic unmanaged stress constricts blood vessels consistently and measurably. But genuine laughter, practiced gratitude, and meaningful social connection do the exact opposite. They actively help vessels relax and open to their full capacity. Even simple daily pleasures, walking in natural sunlight, listening to music you genuinely love, spending quality time with people who bring you authentic peace, stimulate the production of nitric oxide, a critical molecule that keeps arteries flexible, responsive, and healthy. And flexible, responsive arteries are precisely what the aging brain depends on for meaningful, long-term protection. This understanding creates a powerful and practical shift in how we think about health. Not something you reach for desperately only when you are already sick, but something woven intentionally and consistently into the fabric of daily life. Something practiced quietly and without fear every single day. The real secret to a stroke-resistant brain is not perfection in any single area. It is consistency across all areas. When you give your brain fresh, oxygenated blood, steady, reliable oxygen delivery, and genuine emotional calm every single day, you do not just meaningfully lower stroke risk. You actively sharpen mental focus. You stabilize mood and emotional resilience. You genuinely slow the aging process at the cellular level. Let us return to where we began today, with Margaret standing in her kitchen that ordinary morning. When her symptoms struck without warning, she did not freeze in place. She did not panic. She remembered clearly and precisely what she had learned. She sat down immediately. She lay flat on the floor. She elevated her legs on a nearby pillow. She began slow, controlled breathing, calm, deliberate, and intentional, while her husband called for emergency help. By the time paramedics walked through the front door, her speech had already begun to return. Later, the emergency room physician told her family directly that her immediate, purposeful response likely prevented permanent brain injury from occurring. That is the genuine, transformative power of preparation. Knowledge converts panic into purposeful action, and purposeful action preserves brain tissue during the minutes that matter most. This is the point I want to leave with you completely clearly. This is not about living in chronic fear of a stroke. It is about living with genuine, informed readiness. Readiness gives you real power. Readiness gives the people who love you genuine peace of mind. Readiness means that if the moment ever comes, you will not be helpless and you will not be unprepared. Aging does not mean inevitable decline. It means the opportunity for greater awareness and more intentional living. You can strengthen your circulation, train your reflexes, and nourish your brain with every conscious breath, every deliberate step, and every thoughtful meal you choose. So carry this one clear line with you from today forward. When blood flow slows, do not panic. Lie down, elevate your legs, breathe slowly, let gravity work for you. Simple, clear, potentially life-saving for you or someone you love. Because health is not about successfully avoiding every crisis that life may bring. It is about knowing with complete clarity exactly what to do when one arrives. That is real and lasting empowerment. If you found genuine value in what you learned today, share this knowledge with someone you care about deeply, a parent, a close friend, a neighbor who lives alone, because the next life this information protects may be someone you love more than anything. Practice the technique regularly. Rehearse it mentally right now before you move on. Lie down, elevate your legs, breathe in for 4, hold for 2, out through your mouth for 6. Make it instinct, because in a truly critical moment, there is no time available to think through steps. There is only time to act from deeply ingrained habit. And when you have practiced consistently, your instinct will be exactly right when it matters most. Stay calm, stay aware. Your body always gives you a chance to fight back. You simply need to know how to work with it rather than against it. I'm Dr. Lauren Hayes. Take care of your brain every single day, and I will see you in the next video.